Ready. Begin with the chant, if I can catch my breath. Om Samgachadvam Samvadadvam Samvomanaham Sijanatam Deva Bhagayata Purve Sanjanana Upasate Samano Mantra Samiti Samani Samana Manasaha Chittamesham Samana mantra api mantrayeva samanena vo avishachuhomi samani vahakuti samana hritayani vaha samana astu vo mano yataha vasu sahasati. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om. May we come together for a common purpose. May our minds be united in the quest for higher wisdom. Common be our prayer, common our goal, common be our purpose, common our ideal. Unified be our hearts, united our intentions. Perfect be the harmony and the unity among us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all. Good morning, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving. It is the Sunday before Thanksgiving, which is such a wonderful, it's a joyful, it's actually a really important, meaningful spiritual occasion. And around the world, Americans from all walks of life, people think it's an international holiday. No, it's just Americans do that. Americans, no matter what part of the country they're from, even if they're abroad, we're all thinking about Thanksgiving now, and we're all in one voice going, bummer, 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 big fat bummer. What kind of a Thanksgiving is this, right? Come on. So I'm supposed to be thankful for all this that's going on now? Thanksgiving? I don't think so. I'm not going to give thanks for this. I kind of want to kick this can of a year down the road and kind of blow it up at the end. But I think a lot of us feel that way, but we don't have to go there. We not only don't have to, we don't even want to go there, because that would only turn the big bummer into super worse bummer, and we wouldn't get anything out of it. And the real point about that is that we would also miss the grace that comes from this really unique Thanksgiving. And this might be our once-in-a-lifetime chance to celebrate Thanksgiving this week and in this way. And we never want to celebrate it again this way. But since the Divine Mother has ordained that this is the way our Thanksgiving is going to be, we have to look for the grace in it, because obviously it has to be there or it wouldn't be there. So we'd be missing out a lot if we didn't see the grace in it and bask in it and learn from it. Because usually, of course, at this time of the year, we're planning for a big family dinner. So we're getting together with our families and our extended families and our friends and our loved ones. And we invite those people who are on their own and they don't have their family around to celebrate with, we invite them into our homes and they become kind of a larger part of our family. And it kind of expands our idea about what family is. And that right now, that's a really important lesson to keep in mind. Because usually at this time, people are taking a big flight across the country to be with their loved ones. Or they're getting in a car for a really long drive on the worst driving day of the year. And everyone goes through all that torture just to be with their families and loved ones at Thanksgiving. And we have to be together because that's what tradition dictates. And we kind of hope we're not going to face a big family battle at the Thanksgiving table about all those predictable arguments about politics or who should be winning the game or who should be getting the Oscar. But even now we're kind of longing for those predictable arguments. It's like, God, I kind of miss Uncle Louie's arguing for that, just because it's part of our tradition. And we love our Thanksgiving traditions. And this year's different. As if I needed to tell you this year's different. Because, we're in the middle of this devastating pandemic, and it's affected the entire world. It isn't just us. It isn't just our community. It's everyone. Every place on the entire globe now has COVID. No one is exempt. And our whole world has been turned upside down. And we just didn't see this thing coming down the pike. We thought we were prepared for everything when no one saw this guy coming, or at least the people who knew it weren't being given a voice. Anyway, this has been very tough on everyone. Some people's lives have been utterly devastated. Some have the effects upon other people's lives been less affected, but it's been distressing nevertheless for pretty much everybody. And especially here locally, here in Santa Barbara, it's been really tough because just 2 years ago, we had these devastating fires and mudslides. As bad as the fires were, the mudslides were much worse. It was devastating in every possible way. There was major loss of life. Everything was turned upside down. And people were just starting to get, things were kind of ticking along. The ignition was going and everybody was getting, it's like, then wham. Okay, shut down. Okay. We weren't really thinking of a pandemic. And now we're all kind of like, so, okay, what next? What next? What next? So it's like, okay, plague, locusts, another earthquake. Obviously, we got another drought happening here. And even apart from the pandemic, there's the economic toll. There's the emotional toll that's going to take a long time to recover from. We will recover, but it takes a while, and it's difficult. So, and as if that isn't awful enough, we've had this bruising election that just refuses to end. It's like we're all, can this just stop? It's like water torture. But it just keeps going on, and this continued acrimony between these different sides. And every normal person is thinking, can't we just get along? We got along before. We can get along again. I mean, we're used to getting along. We have our arguments, but we basically get along. Well, we can get along if we want to and if there's a will for it. But since we're all connected and every part of us is connected to the whole, it wears us down to have this continued acrimony and this distrust going. So at times like this, it's really useful to think about the first Thanksgiving. Because the Pilgrims and the Native Americans weren't all buddy-buddy, they were literally killing each other, right? And they had nothing in common, nada, zip. They were radically different from one another in every possible way. They had different languages, different ideals, different religions, different family structures, different clothes, different foods, different smells, you name it, it was different. There was no commonality whatsoever. So let's think about the kind of courage it took for these completely different groups to get together in harmony with one another. Let's think about how much courage it took to go over that big gulf, because everybody set aside their differences and they shared their food together in peace and harmony. The Native Americans brought their food, and the Europeans were taking their lands. And the Europeans shared their food as well. So despite all their differences, some trust, some elemental trust was established. Perhaps some sort of an understanding, some common values were discovered. Perhaps, these irreconcilable groups realized that they were human beings together. And they realized that what united them was greater than what divided them. Just as true then as it is today. So it's worth remembering that both the Native Americans and the settlers had gone through terrible times. There had been a devastating loss of life. There had been devastating pestilence, devastating famine. There were so many more dead people than there were alive people. And yet, that led, all these terrible, devastating things led to them celebrating Thanksgiving together. We ought to think about that. There's a meaning in that. that the worst of times brought up in the best in each other, and they shared that. They met in peace and in harmony. And you know what? They gave thanks. And we can too. They had survived. They had food. They didn't wake up to find themselves dead. They had gone through an incredibly difficult time, and they came out stronger and wiser. And we can too. His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, every day, think as you wake up. Today, I am fortunate to have woken up. I am alive. I have a precious human life. I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to use all my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart out to others, to achieve enlightenment. I'm going to have kind thoughts towards others. I'm not going to get angry or think badly about others. I'm going to benefit others as much as I can. Wow. I'm going to have kind thoughts towards others. I'm not going to get angry or think badly about others. I'm going to benefit others as much as I can. I mean, if we could truly do that, what a fabulous example of what a Thanksgiving could be. That would really, really make this world a heaven, and we ourselves would be so much happier. Our life would be blessed if we could just try to do that much. So, of course, that's a perfect Thanksgiving. But that doesn't mean, let's say, come on, let's do it. Let's get out the stuffing. Let's get out the pumpkin pie. Let's get out that green bean casserole and the olives and the nuts and the yams and the turkey. But you know what? That's just the window dressing over the real work. Because the real work, the real point of Thanksgiving is expanding our hearts to include everybody in our family. And expanding our hearts is the real truth behind Thanksgiving. Swami Vivekananda said to his followers, first feel from the heart. What is in the intellect or reason? It goes a few steps and there it stops. But through the heart comes inspiration. He said, love opens the most impossible gates. Love is the gate to the secrets of all the universe. He said, expand your hearts. As wide as the world, deep as the oceans, broad as the infinite skies. So this man who has the rep of being like this teacher of this dry Jnana Yoga, his heart melted for others. His compassion was compared to that of the Buddha. He wants that of us, to expand our hearts as much as we can. That is the point of Thanksgiving. That's what we do by expanding our family, to include everybody in our table. We have to expand our inner table now, because we can't do the outer one. It's not safe. So that's what we celebrate at Thanksgiving. It's not the food or the family or the friends, though that's sort of the outward manifestation of it. That's the kind of the outer window dressing of it. It's what lies behind the family and the food and the friends and the camaraderie and the football games that we share and the Twilight Zone reruns that we love to watch together. It's the expansion of our hearts when we become larger than just our individual selves. Of course, it's hard right now. There's no doubt it's really hard. With the pandemic, economic downturn, the viciousness that our society is going through right now on both sides, and the global warming, all these disasters that go with it, and our fear that democracy is much more fragile than we thought. At times like this, it's really easy to think of Job, because we're thinking, okay, what's next? The meteor? Is that going to hit? Okay, all right, next. I won't be surprised. But this again brings to mind the biblical story of Job. Now, for those who don't know it or remember it well, here's the story. Job was a righteous and a prosperous man, and he had flocks of animals and a large, happy family. Job was so righteous that he is called blameless. He had never done or thought anything wrong. He was guilty of no wrongdoing, and he was so careful not to do anything to offend God and to walk in the path of righteousness. So one day, Satan shows up in heaven And God starts bragging to Satan about his servant Job. He said, Job is blameless. He praises me. And Satan says, yeah, he's praising you because you've blessed him with so much. You've given him all this cattle. You've given him all these lands. You've given him a big, happy family and health. If you take that away, if it's taken away, he's going to curse you. And God said, no, he's not going to curse me. And Satan says, let me try. Allow me to torture Job, and I will prove to you that he will curse you. And God says, okay, go for it. But you can't kill him. Have fun. So sure enough, Satan goes down and he torments Job. And in one day, Job gets 4 separate messages that all of his livestock, because all these invading armies come through while he's out in his lands, the invading armies, the marauding armies come through, and then pestilence hit. So all of his animals are killed, and then all of his children are killed. All of his crops are destroyed. And he's just beset with all these incredible catastrophes in one day. And Job grieves. He rends his clothes. He tears his clothes in grief. He shaves his head and puts ashes on himself. And he mourns. And he cries to God. He says he cannot understand the ways of God. But he does not curse God. He continues to bless God. He blesses the name of God. So Satan appears in heaven again and says, okay, let me have another whack at it. And God says, okay, but you can't kill him. So then Satan comes down and afflicts Job with these suppurating, painful sores that cover his entire body. He's just disgusting and in terrible pain. And Job's wife says, curse God. And by the way, go ahead and die. And Job says, I will not curse God. And then Job's 3 friends come and say, you've obviously done evil. Only someone who's evil would have this happen to him by God. And Job says, no, I swear, I've examined my heart. I've examined my conscience. I cannot think of any way that I've offended God. And they said, you're lying. You've done something, or else this wouldn't happen to you. You have been, and he argues with him, but it's like, no. And he won't curse God. And he says, I've been God's faithful servant. I can't understand. And then God comes in a voice in a whirlwind. And from the whirlwind, God says, and this whirlwind is taken up, and it's like this infinite divine power is coming through. And Job bows his head and says, no one can understand the infinite power or majesty or the will of God. Human beings don't have that capacity. We cannot understand. And he just accepts. And God comes and he blesses Job. He's pleased with Job, but he's mighty mad with the 3 friends, and he's ready to smite them. But Job intervenes and says, no, please, because Job has a compassionate heart. Please spare them. And God's even happier with that. And so he blesses Job with more children, more lands, more prosperity, and a very, very long life. Because throughout the whole thing, Job keeps repeating, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. No matter what happens, this is what Job says. So God is so pleased with that. I don't know whatever happened to the wife, but he ought to totally ditch that one. And this story has always irritated me. Since I was a child, this story has always irritated me. I think, what kind of a God would torment someone on a bet? And on a bet with Satan? Are you kidding me? What kind of a God is that? Who needs it? Are we kind of like toys that you get to play chess with? Knock them down if you can. See if you can take my pawn. I'll take that pawn. It really reminded me every time of that quote from King Lear, where Lear says, as flies are to naughty boys, so are we to the gods. They kill us for their sport. It's like, that's sort of what Job reminds me of. And then I thought, wait a minute, turn off that ignition. Let's totally change that paradigm. Instead of thinking of this story in the context of a God-Satan dyad, Let's think of it in terms of karma, because that's really much more useful and applicable to our lives. So karma, again, whatever we do, whatever we think about, whatever we say, comes back to us in various ways. All of our negative, unkind, bad thoughts, deeds, speech comes back to us in negative, painful ways of some sort. Those that have been good, kind, positive will come back to us in positive ways. And this is what comes back to us is called karma phala, the fruits, the results of our own previous thoughts and actions. So there's no one punishing us. No one's like betting on us. It's what we're experiencing from our own thoughts and actions. So right now, at all times and in every way, just as we have from time immemorial and will in the future until we're free, we're experiencing, all of us, the fruits of our own actions. This is the fruits of our own karma. The results of our previous thoughts and actions are karma phala. So everyone in the entire globe right now is dealing with their own karma phala with this pandemic. It's like we're not so special. Everybody is being affected by it. All of us are experiencing this same karma phala. So all of us, and to some people it is a devastating effect, and some it's milder. But it's there. No one is exempt from this. But karma phala isn't punishment. It's something we learn from, something we gain from. We gain wisdom and compassion from our karma phala if we use it in the right way. Or, we can go ahead and feel sorry for ourselves, and we can whine and think, poor me, when can I do what I want? I want to do what I want. I want to do it when I want. And you don't see Job doing that. Can you imagine Swami Vivekananda's Ramakrishna Holy Mother doing that? You don't see the Dalai Lama, when can I do what I want? Buddha, Confucius, Muhammad? No spiritual person would dream of doing that. Because that's just the big ego talking, when can I do what I want? I want to do what I want. Because when can I do what I want to do what I want is not only spiritually unhelpful, it's spiritually and psychologically poisonous. It's destructive. Because like every other karma phala, it's all about what we get out of it. It's all about what we make of it, what we choose to do with it. We can either make it a painful, unhappy experience, and we shut down and become bitter and isolated and fearful, or we can make it a positive and enriching experience, which makes our hearts expand. And the deal is, no one's punishing us. It's totally up to us. It's our decision to make of this experience what we want to. It's up to us. So what appears to be bad or negative isn't necessarily that at all. People who have this very superficial idea of karma will say, for example, oh, there's a blind person. Oh, that person must have done some bad karma in his previous life or her previous life. No, not necessarily at all. She or he may have a very positive, happy life. They may feel contented and love, contented in their joy. They may feel they're making a really big contribution to the world and contribution to other people. They may be much happier than everybody else they know. So this is not negative karma. What their experience that has come to them, they've made it a positive, enriching experience. And we can do the same. We can make whatever comes to us and put it to our best advantage. It's up to us. We can with our current situation. Because we have this possibility of growth and joy in this situation. So why not take this approach instead of the whiny me approach? So yeah, hello, yes, the pandemic is a big bummer. And yeah, we really want to be with our families and our friends. But on the other hand, we don't want to get sick, and we sure don't want our loved ones to get sick. So we adjust. We have Zoom get-togethers or a telephone calls, or we send telegrams or candygrams or send balloons or 3,000 different cards to different people we love. And we figure out a new way to convey what Thanksgiving means to us. We convey to them our love and our missing them and our appreciation of them. Because Thanksgiving is going beyond our little identity of the ego and expanding our hearts to include everybody in it. So let's kind of analyze, what is it about Thanksgiving that we love so much? Well, as much as it appears that it's about the food and the family and the friends and the feasting, it's really not about that, because that's just the window dressing. It's the external manifestation. It's about the love and the easy warmth and the shared tradition that we share. And as we treasure more as years go by. Because as we get older, people kind of drop by the wayside, either from age or from illness or death, or maybe we just go in these disparate paths and we kind of lose touch. But we treasure our values and our traditions, and they become sweeter as time goes on, and our memories kind of become the mortar that holds these traditions together. This Thanksgiving is this warm nestling of togetherness, of being part of a much larger whole. And being part of a much larger whole is really what it's all about. Because being larger than our individual selves is a really helpful place to go during this time. Because we realize that our feelings of loneliness and isolation we can put it back to our feelings of being a lone individual, that there's us and everybody else. But if we can really see ourselves and others clearly, we won't feel that way. Because we have to remember that at all times, in every way, we're always connected to everyone and everything else. If we can't be so physically, we have to remember that we're never separate from anything else in this universe. And if we feel like lonely or separate or isolated, we just really have to sit down with that and remember, no, I'm part of everything out there. I'm part of everything and everyone. We're connected to everyone and everything else. And that's where we find our joy. Now, we may, kind of know this intellectually, but we find it hard to really put it into practice. But you know what? Vedanta is all about putting things into practice, because that's when it becomes real to us, when we incorporate it into our lives. So we really have to make that a part of our daily practice to really feel our oneness and our experience of being one with everything out there. Because Vedanta isn't just sitting in a chair and reading about consciousness. So really practicing what we believe and integrating it into our lives, because that's what brings us, that's what happens when the rubber hits the road and we come to times like this, making that integration work. So if Thanksgiving is about the love, what's the love all about? What's the root of love? It's about love. It's about unity. It's about the feeling of oneness. It's that recognition of the oneness of existence and really feeling it, whether we're with the person or not. The Pilgrims and the Native Americans were able to celebrate Thanksgiving for the first time. And this Thanksgiving is kind of this backdoor approach to the unity of all life, to the oneness of existence. They had nothing in common, the Pilgrims and the Native Americans, except for their common humanity. Except the beauty of it is there's no such thing as common humanity. Because we as human beings have the unique ability of all beings to realize the divinity within us. That is unique to being a human being. And that divinity lies in every heart. But it's human beings who have the ability to sit down, to meditate, to concentrate, and to manifest that divinity in their hearts. No other being can do that. And it's useful to remember that when the avatar comes as a human being. It's interesting, in the Hindu tradition, they really show evolution. That when God, literally avatar, which comes from Ava, comes down, that they show the evolution, that the Vaishnavas have this belief in the 10 incarnations. So first, God comes down as Matsya, a fish incarnation, and then he comes down again as the giant tortoise, the Kurma avatar, and then Varaha, the boar avatar, and then becomes more, we're evolving more and more, and then Varaha, then Narasimha, half man, half lion. We're getting there. Then Vaman, the dwarf avatar. And then we go into Parashurama, the axe warrior avatar, and then we move into Rama, and then Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Chaitanya, Ramakrishna. It's infinite. We don't believe that God just limits himself to 10. What's 10 to an infinite divine reality? God is infinite, has infinite manifestations, but more and more evolved into human beings. So the highest manifestation of divinity is within the human heart. But of all human hearts, the highest manifestation of divinity is in the incarnation, in the avatar. So common humanity is an exalted state. And we have to really be grateful and show thanks for this, because you know what? A human incarnation isn't that common. I mean, you look at all the embodied beings out there, there's way more insects than there are us, way more different embodiments. There are beings under the ground, on the ground, above the ground, in the waters, under the waters. Way more possibilities for incarnations than just this human body. A human birth is a rare opportunity. Dalai Lama never ceased to say, don't waste precious human birth. It's a rare gift, so we have to utilize it. We can't take it for granted. This gift is something we can't take for granted, this body, this ability to incarnate as a human. And whether we like it or not, everything that comes to us in this life is a gift, whether we like it or not, whether it's terrible or whether it's positive. See, we have this notion that we're supposed to give thankful for all the good things that have happened to us, and the things that bad happened, like we just like, no. Remember that old hymn, we gather together to ask the Lord's blessings. It's like, okay, what about the things that we don't feel that are blessings? We have to gather together to give thanks for that too. See, Satan assures God that because Job is prosperous, that's why he's praising God, because he has all these children and animals and land. But when everything is taken away from him, and literally insult upon injury, salt in every wound he's got is rubbed in, his faith doesn't waver. Though he slay me, yet I shall trust him. So more blessings of God are heaped on him after this terrible trial. So I think there's a lesson in that for us, because extraordinary grace has come to him, because he went through this extraordinarily painful experience, and we have that opportunity now. Everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between can be an instrument for our spiritual growth if we take that opportunity. Giving thanks is really about it's really giving thanks for thanking life for what it presents to us, whether we like it or not. It's not saying thank you to all the things that we asked for and we got, like Santa Claus. It's about thank you for the opportunities we've been given, that we can learn from, that we can get grace from, sought and unsought. This pandemic is totally unsought. We have to look for the grace in it, and look for the grace in this kind of a Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, we have the opportunity to kind of dig down to find deeper meaning in things. We get the opportunity to see the gift of what life has brought us. The good, the bad, the painful, the really painful, and all these unsought gifts, like the pandemic that's brought to our lives. And the truth is, whether we like it or not, we learn much more from painful experiences than we do from all the pleasant things, the happy things that we just take for granted because that's what we like and that's what we should have all the time. So these greatest blessings usually come from these unsought gifts. So I'm supposed to be grateful. I'm supposed to be thankful for giving like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you want to be happy, if you don't want to be happy, you want to whine, go ahead, feel free. Just please stay away from the rest of us, because we're sick of the whining. It doesn't help anybody, just big bummer for everybody. So our Thanksgiving table this year has to be interior. And we need to make that Thanksgiving table really enormous. We have to make it such a big space that the entire world can fit into it. As Swamiji said, we should make that space as wide as our hearts must widen, so that it's as wide as the world, deep as the oceans, broad as the infinite skies. Because that's what would be our true Thanksgiving feast this year. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om. May the divine being who is the Father in heaven of the Christians, the Holy One of the Jewish tradition, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Ahura Mazda of the Zoroastrians, the Great Spirit of the Native Americans, and the Brahman of the Hindus. May that infinite divine reality lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May we be granted strength, wisdom, and right understanding. May we learn to see God in our own hearts and the hearts of everyone around us. May the divine bless us and fill our hearts with gratitude, grace, and love. Thank you and happy Thanksgiving. And if anyone has questions, I'll be happy to do whatever y'all want. Now I can see.
Devi Prana, it's so nice to see you, Devi Prana. You're smiling. It's been a while. This is a real
Oh, here's, yay, Devi Prana.
Prana.
Oh, nice to see everybody there. Jim, I can hear your voice. Everybody doing okay? There, I can see you now. Yeah. Any other points, considerations, complaints? Riffs? Okay, rock songs? Okay, well then, everybody have a really, really joyful Thanksgiving. I hope y'all gained 3 pounds at least. Celebrate the fact that we're alive and we can be together. You know, if we can't be together, this way is as good as it's going to get right now. So let's just appreciate it. Thank you all very much, Jaima. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Take care.
You too, everybody.